Welcome back, everybody. For this two-part collaborative assignment, we are going to work together to discuss different art movements and artistic styles. Many of these were emerging from the 18th and 19th centuries, and this was a time when art became more inclusive, usually by force, because up until this point, art was exclusionary. If you were a woman, if you were a minority, anybody who was considered an other, you were pretty much unseen and unheard. Now, there were women that were successful in the art world before this, but it was always debated whether or not their work was done by a man. So there is this really huge shift in the art community when it comes down to all of the rules that are established for artists. For example, many of these artists in this movement were really rejecting traditional arts and standards that were placed upon them. It was very limiting to the artist. And it was also getting kind of boring. So, with these artists, they were really only unified because they were rejected by traditional academic institutions. And they were able to influence each other, collaborate, and create this whole new art world from nothing. It's pretty incredible because now when we look at the art world, it's completely different. Anything can be considered art in an academic or in a commercial setting. But it wasn't always like that. Artists really were ridiculed publicly if their work was rejected, if they were considered lesser, they just weren't successful. And many of these artists would go on to be some of the most famous artists that we know today. So, what I want us to do is just select a few artworks from our textbook and online sources. You can see here on our whiteboard that I gave you a few indicators for these arts movements. And then you can also go to the arts and culture link right here that gives us more information on these specific art movements. Now, this breaks it down to traditional and contemporary art, so you can just find what you want to discuss. So, for example, here's Impressionism. And each of these art styles really reference many things. For example, with Impressionism, they were influenced by the new technology with photography, where really painting was starting to be considered obsolete because photography could capture the natural world without painting it or drawing it. So, when we think about how our society changes, these art movements tend to change with them. So you can find a few things in here that will inspire you, hopefully. You may not like all of these different art movements, but at least you can get an understanding of why art evolved and why rules were broken. So I look forward to seeing what you select for this two-part series. You will have different categories in here for the next assignment just because we're moving forward in history. But yeah, I think it'll be a fun assignment that we can collaborate on. All right. I hope you have a wonderful day.